out is that Bharat seems to be intent on taking PoK and somewhere creating a mahal that they themselves will willingly come back. There is nothing to be done by force. So what does that doctrine intend? We'll talk about that. But first we've got to touch politics. This man who's now become perhaps the face of Bharat's response to the world and Bharat's justification of, and perhaps the most eloquent and articulated exposition of Bharat's position, Dr. Shashi Tharoor. Increasingly, he's become the bee in the bonnet for the Congress party. Zaka, what's going on there?
I think this particular thing, I'm afraid, might be the, as they say, the straw that breaks the camel's back. Because he's also doubling down on the messaging. And rightfully so. I don't think, this is an issue where there should be politics. The fact is, he's also articulating it perhaps even better than some folks in government, right? So that's why it's getting noticed. Like, how is he speaking, for India, what government ministers should be doing? And he's doing a very good job of it. He's a wordsmith. The number of books he's written, the articles he's written, the way he communicates. So I don't think there's any reason for him to back down on the position that he's taken. The question is for the Congress party. The Congress party also, in the initial weeks after the terror attack, and then I think the first few days after Operation Sindoor as well, the consensus in the party from the leadership down, I mean, there would be some stray noises here and there, but certainly you didn't see Rahul Gandhi or Mr. Karge say, chutput hai. Chutput hai happened much later. Even Rahul Gandhi's attack on Dr. Jaishankar happened, I think, a week, 10 days after Sindoor, the active phase of Sindoor finished. So I think the Congress is doubling down on this, that, look, Mr. Tharoor has made up his mind to leave the party or to, take this divergent line from the party. Therefore, why should we give him any elbow room? I suspect once his delegation comes back, there will be some form of, first to start off with a show cause notice. And if the explanation is not good enough, then they might consider some other action against him. And frankly, last time I met him, he said, look, by the time this current term gets over in 2029, I would have been an MP 20 years. Very few people in India can actually say that they've been MP for 4 terms. That's a huge thing. 20 years is a long time in politics, where they say a week is an eternity. So he's also got to this stage in his political career where he feels like he has nothing to lose. So I think things are going to get to a head once he comes back and once the Congress party decides what form of action it wants to take against him. And it will have, I think, a bearing in the elections, the assembly elections next year in Kerala. I think they are fundamentally now on a collision course. They can't coexist.
See, collision course, yes. You show cause Dr. Tharoor when he comes back, because somewhere he must not have followed the party line, diktat and all of that. But to try and fact check someone who's never been, wrong with facts or has stuck to the line, and who's he knows his diplomacy too, Rahul Shankar. Why is it that you have senior voices from the Congress party trying to troll him, trying to take him on? Why? What does the Congress party get out of that? It doesn't. Doesn't it take away from the Congress as a, whole of government nationalist identity when you are perhaps going after the most articulate advocate of Bharat right now?
So there are 3 things, Anand. The first being that I think Congress somewhere along the line has realized that this particular Operation Sindoor, in the way it's played out, and the obvious damage that we have caused to Pakistan's infrastructure, its stature. Some people are saying it's set them back militarily by 5 years, etc., setting a new threshold, new benchmark in the way 2 nuclear powers engage on the battlefield, has given the NDA huge bragging rights politically, and has also won it a fair deal of public support. Yes, initially there was a little bit of a, I suppose, collective disappointment, a whole of the nation disappointment that we didn't go the whole way. Yeah. But I think people have...
Why did you do the ceasefire? You're also one of them.
Yeah. So, I actually wasn't one of them. I have written articles and tweeted in support of the ceasefire.
You mean you support Trump?
Not the...
Just pulling your leg,
man. No. I'm just saying that I support the fact that India has gone and done what it set out to do. You see, we were operating in a very narrow very legalistic framework, and we've achieved the ends. And I think most military historians, analysts, etc., are saying that India, what it set out to do, it has achieved. Now, whether Pakistan gets the message or not, that's a whole different conversation, and that's a conversation which we'll be having in just a few moments. But the fact is that the Congress has realized that a lot of brownie points, public political brownie points, have accrued to perhaps the Prime Minister, who is now also taking the message to the masses that, look, if there is a defender of the national interest, it is the NDA, and specifically a person like me who promises, I heard you and I've delivered. So it's not just the Congress. If you look at the conversation now, it's also the TMC. Mamata Banerjee has come out and said that this name Sindoor was picked because it is politically extremely catchy. Right? So it's almost as if, securing justice for Hindus irritates her, irks her. But she realized that the BJP is capitalizing, which, frankly, it is its wont to do, because Indira Gandhi did so in 1971. I mean, though Manekshaw won her the war, it was Indira's war. Indira was Durga, and she was elevated not just by her party, Indira is India, but also by Vajpayee Sahab. So fundamentally, it's the person, the CEO in control, who gets the brownie points. And this is one thing that has begun to eat at the Congress. Secondly, they find that Tharoor has become a votary for the NDA's obvious, strategic, and also, of course, political messaging. And they've realized that if this guy, who is so well heralded as, Zach is saying, and also, of course, who is the head of the Parliament Standing Committee on External Affairs, a diplomat, actually, and also somebody who has been in government in the External Affairs Ministry as MOS, if he is today also pinning three stars on the Prime Minister's shoulder, then we've got a problem, because people will immediately say that, look, your own is exposing you. And the third point, I think, is fundamentally this, that there has been, I think, an aspirational mismatch between where Mr. Tharoor wants to go in the Congress party and where the Congress is. Remember, he also challenged, in one sense, he was at least seen as a challenger for the presidentship of the party. And he was also a member of the G23, as it was called. So there has been, at least from Mr. Tharoor, a message that has been sent to 10 Janpad that, look, I want something more than just being another MP.
At the end of the day, Dr. Tharoor seems to be playing his cards brilliantly. That, the anti-defection doesn't kick in, but he riles up bit by bit, inch by inch, the Congress party leadership to the level that they say go out. So if they throw him out of the party, he doesn't lose his MP seat and he gets to continue, finish his term. So that's possible.
When I asked him to describe himself, he said, I'm economically conservative, socially liberal, and a hawk when it comes to national security. And I'm like, that's a strange mix. But yeah.
So like you said, he's a brilliant wordsmith. But Dr. Tharoor, the way he's articulated Bharat's position, I think it's a lesson for the ruling disposition to understand how to build narratives, how to structure stories. And he's a past master at that. And I think when there are articulate people who are able to present the nation's cause in a fantastic way, friend, foe, or wherever, one should learn. And I think that's the lesson to be taken forward. But let's move forward here. What happens with Dr. Tharoor, we'll know when he comes back, but he is internationally championing Bharat's cause, to salute to that for that to him.
One question, can I ask you on this? Very quickly. I have to ask you this. Do you think if there is a possibility, the BJP might take him in some way? Support his maybe Rajya Sabha?
Might, how, what, when, where. Point is, does Dr. Tharoor know what is the role that he wants to play? And does the BJP have a role or a position there for Dr. Tharoor? Because you cannot waste a person like him. Or is he better on the outside as an articulate spokesperson, as an articulate voice for Bharat, and you milk him that way because of his expertise? Because if he's not going to contest again after 2029, if he's going to perhaps move on, somebody else is going to take that seat. Perhaps there are various ways to look at it. And closer in Kerala, I'm not sure Dr. Tharoor would want to go back to Kerala as Chief Minister. He may have larger ambitions because he could contribute for the whole country, not just the state of Kerala. So it's up to the two of them. But is it possible? Perhaps. Is there a space? Is there vacancy?
Well left.
Yeah, well, that's what. Now, let's
Don't
move to
flirt
the...
with the ball outside the off stump.
Yeah,
you should
considering
know-
he's
you
going
should
to
know.
Lords and all that, he should know where his off stump
You
is.
should know where your off stump is. Now, let's understand this next. What is the doctrine shift or a doctrinal shift in the way Bharat has approached Operation Sindoor and post-Operation Sindoor? This is something, viewers, we need to understand. Was there a thought process in the past which said, let's be conservative, let's be restrained in our responses to the misdemeanors by Pakistan, because in the larger interest of regional stability and in Bharat, a stable Pakistan is better? Has that shifted now to a place where saying, this is an entity which is going to be a thorn in the flesh of our growth story? The sooner it is dismembered, not just a repeat of 71, perhaps 4 times more, that it's better. It's better for regional stability and for Bharat to go forward. A Sindhu Desh and a Balochistan are better to engage with via Afghanistan right up to the Europe. Why do I need a Punjabi Sikh, Sunni Punjabi dominated Pakistan or entity? So
See, there are two things, Anand. One is that the idea of having a stable Pakistan is in India's interest was twofold. I mean, this has been the prevalent policy for a long time, because one was this thing about, oh, they have nuclear arms, we have nuclear arms, there's only so much that 2 nuclear weapon states can do. I think that notion, that bluff has been called.
yeah, that nuclear deterrence bluff has been called.
I think what Sindoor, and this will be the most lasting contribution of Operation Sindoor, is that it's shown there's a range of options below nuclear or sub-nuclear which countries can exercise, which India has exercised. So basically what this means is the next time Pakistan is planning a terror attack, and frankly, India does not respond to every terror attack. There have been a series of attacks between Balakot and
There is a
Pahalgam.
threshold.
There is a threshold.
Yeah.
Any terror attack that crosses the threshold, India will respond. This is something that Pakistan and its military folks, its proxies will have to take into account before the next big terror attack that crosses the threshold happens. This is a fundamental change. This is a doctrinal change. The second thing is about the balkanization. See, as long as there are people like General Munir in Pakistan who believe that Hindus and Muslims can never coexist, this is the reason for the two-nation theory. I mean, what elbow room do you have to engage with a country whose highest military leadership thinks like this?
Yeah.
So you don't have any elbow room to engage with that kind of a thought process. So then for India it's kosher. You have Balochistan, you have Sindhu Desh, you have Khyber Pakhtunkhwa to deal with, as opposed to this whole idea that we are a Muslim nation, we are the second nation after Riyasat-e-Madina to exist solely for the Muslims. You can't engage with that kind of a narrative, or a person who thinks like that.
Now, here's the thing. Asim Munir's line need not necessarily be what the Pashtuns believe, the Sindhis believe, or the Baloch believe.
Exactly.
So they are culturally, they don't have an issue. They practice Islam, yes, but they are not averse to Hindus or any other religion. In terms of culturally also, there is a certain alignment. So is Raksha Mantri's conversation where he says, PoK to apne hain, in the future we believe of their own free will, without any exercising of force, they are integral to Bharat, they are our family, they will see the light of day and they will return to Bharat. Is this also perhaps of the larger discourse where Bharat is telling the world, listen, we have got no territorial ambitions of going there and forcefully annexing, they will themselves come to us. So let's look at both these.
Military doctrinal shift, there's also been a diplomatic doctrinal shift. I think India has made it clear, and this is a conversation that we used to have privately in newsrooms, why don't we ever pass a resolution in the Indian Parliament reclaiming PoK? Remember, because they've done it so many times on Kashmir, for example, the Pakistanis. Why don't we ever step up?
It's been done in Parliament.
I know. Yeah. So at that time, and then of course you had something that articulated the sentiment of the House, but diplomatically we never made PoK a precondition.
Yeah.
So for a while we got stuck on terror and ties, terror trade, terror ties. Now suddenly we've completely put the PoK cart before the talks or dialogue horse.
Let's talk Kashmir, let's talk PoK.
Yeah, I mean, Kashmir is out of the window. The conversation will be on PoK. So, when are you giving back PoK?
So when you talk Kashmir, the only talking is on PoK. That's what I'm trying to say.
When are you going to give PoK back? And secondly, of course, which is the old the old paradigm, which is that, look, when are you going to dismantle the terror infrastructure? So I think that is no longer leading the conversation for us. We've come to a point where we are internationally also telling people that PoK is ours. These guys have sat on it. We don't anymore respect the terms of the comprehensive dialogue that was set forth even in 1971. In fact, when Pakistan said that we are prepared to suspend the declaration that was made in 1971, the Shimla Accords, we didn't say anything. We kept quiet. Unlike Pakistan that is protesting about IWT.
Yeah.
So the IWT is also a very intelligent play because we hadn't moved there. Why didn't we move that? Because, again, it is a jugular. The real jugular is water. It's not Kashmir. The real jugular in Pakistan is their water, and the water comes, 80% of it comes from us, India, and the Indus system. So what will you do? When you step on that jugular, you're going to create a lot of pain downstream. Already you're seeing in Sindhu Desh, as you're talking about, this whole conversation about Pani, and there is a standoff between the state and the federal government.
The funny video of a Karachi actress, at the Karachi airport saying that there is no water. You're celebrating nuclear anniversary, etc. But where is basic amenities like water? There's no water for wuzu. There's no water for children. There's no water for the women. There's not even water to drink. Forget the toilet. So all of
right
this.
now, Pakistan's military establishment kept things together because they could keep the Punjabis, the rich Punjabi land-owning class in Pakistan happy. Pani nahi hai, or pani nahi aayega, ya flood bhi aa jayega. So how are we going to keep those people happy? Pakistan is going to become a very sort of risible place where you will have in different provinces all sorts of problems. And India has completely abandoned, at least the Modi government has abandoned any notion of working with a stable Pakistan. We want actually a Pakistan on the brink of chaos.
No, not just the. One is brink of chaos.
That is the fundamental shift.
Do you see this also manifesting in the lexicon, that there will be an increased reference to Baloch people? Not maybe Balochistan, but Baloch people. Increasing reference to Pashtuns or the Sindhis or Sindhu Desh. This one, because Prime Minister, remember when he went to Kutch and he said कि मैंने कच्छियों की बात ऐसे कि this is how they are, this is how they respond, and he made a slight cultural link to the other side of this one. So you think that is going to become part of the lexicon? And if the Baloch organize and they declare a government in exile based in Kabul and declare a Republic of Balochistan, you think Bharat will change its tone? There will be some difference there?
Tibet, we've had a Tibet government in exile for God knows how many years. We still recognize a one China policy. I've been saying this in some of our meetings, if you need to get under Asim Munir's skin, the MEA just needs to put out a statement saying free Imran Khan. Why don't you do it? I mean, the point is, the person who has challenged Asim Munir and who really gets Asim Munir's goat is Imran Khan. Even after Sindoor, the only politician in Pakistan who was asking the questions as to, what damages has India caused in Pakistan was Imran Khan, sitting in jail. Look, there are ways in which you can deal with this. Of course, diplomacy tends to be very restrictive and restricted, and deliberately so, for whatever reason. I also want to make a point on PoK. Look, I don't think militarily, given what we've seen, with the Americans in Iraq and Afghanistan, given what we're seeing with Russia and Ukraine, that today, militarily, there is a case to be made that you can go into a place and occupy it for an indefinite period of time, because militarily it will not happen. What I think the government of India is trying to do, two things. One, what Rahul said, that look, every time Pakistan would say, let's talk Kashmir, let's talk Kashmir, let's talk Kashmir. That's the fundamental issue between India and Pakistan. That's been Pakistan's long-standing stand. So India is saying, yeah, let's talk Kashmir, but let's talk PoK.
PoK.
I mean, at the end of the day, the K stands for Kashmir, right? Yeah. So I think that one part of it was to negate that whole business. The second, the only closest example I can think of a reunification or a reintegration of a land that was divided was East and West Germany. And why did that happen?
Because they wanted
because the East Germans realized on this side of the wall that those guys are driving Audis and Mercedes, and they have a quality of life which is so much higher, and we are driving these old banged up Soviet cars. That when you make that differential clear, that the quality of life on the other side of the LC or the wall or whatever it is so much higher, and you've been held back because of this system, this backward system of yours, That's when you will see a bit of an integration.
Yeah, very interesting that you say that, and you brought that reference. I was about to come to that. Three things. In the 90s when Pokhran 2 had happened, right, Amit Shah was an MLA, and there's a letter that he wrote to Atal Bihari Vajpayee where he said, "What have you done? Why did you declare this to the world? Because this test now ensures that militarily we can never go ahead and annex PoK." So this is a letter written at that time. It's in public domain, this letter. But at that time he had, the thought process has been there in terms of PoK has to be brought back. But now look at the shift that's happened. That there has to be a civil movement on the other side. And that's what Rajma Singh turns around and says. That, they will themselves want to come here at that time. Who's going to stop who? Your thought? You think that's a fantastic narrative, the economic hardship and the penury to be highlighted?
We forget that Ukraine, actually, if you really look at the eastern part of Ukraine, that is actually Russian speaking. Right?
Yeah. Donbass.
Yes, that entire region is Russian speaking. Now again, Russia has laid claim to that part and has annexed, if you read, through its proxies, etc., and through a low intensity sort of conflict, insurgency, has managed to melt that border, right? So militarily there are creative ways. I'm not saying that you go in there with a BrahMos strapped with a nuclear missile. There are creative ways of making certain borders redundant. The point is, as Zaka also points out, that the pull and the push has to be overwhelmingly greater than the pull. The pull is already there.
Yeah.
People already see. They have cousins, they have relations. A lot of Kashmiris, their families got split, right, on that fateful night, right, of October 26th. So fundamentally, everyone sort of knows what's happening on the other side. The point is that the jackboot right now is very heavy. The Pakistani army, through its puppet, rules that place in a manner that it also rules in Balochistan and had been ruling Bangladesh. But look what happened in Bangladesh.
Correct.
Distance helped. Here there's not much distance, right? So you have to rely, I believe, on kinetic means of varied creative proportions. And I think that there is space. जैसे कहते हैं ना एक धक्का और दो, there is space. Now, I don't know if the Indian government will contemplate all of that. You know how we are. We're very clean people. We're very, very extremely upright. We believe in international law and all that. So, but I think that, there fundamentally there is now, and today there was also a little bit of, as you know, there is this new TTP that has come up, which is Kashmiristan. So there are things happening. Let's see.
Which way the cookie crumbles, we'll see. But anyway, it's going to crumble for sure. That's the indication, and there is a long game effect to it. There doesn't seem to be a rush to that. This has to be resorted, solved as of day after tomorrow.
Being,
that's not.
India is a democracy, so you can still reconcile those people who are alienated from you, and that is happening in Kashmir now. You're seeing for the first time, you're talking about a monument. To be built in Pahalgam. Hindu lives have suddenly started to matter even in Muslim majority areas in Kashmir. This is a very important shift that we're not seeing actually, you see. So that is happening. On the other side, you see, it's a repressive, undemocratic state. So democracy, rights are not going to come to you through the ballot. You'll have to snatch them.
Interesting.
And that's where the vociferous tendencies in Pakistan are much greater threat to the whole than in our country.
Thank you. On that note, namaste.
Friends, I'm only going to repeat the obvious, but unfortunately in our country you have to. The Indian Air Force is a devastating fighting machine that gave nightmares to the Pakistan defense establishment and made them look weak and ineffective. Pakistan's own Prime Minister said that the IAF and its firepower even prevented the Pakistanis from retaliating, as it rendered them totally inert. Even though we played out the Pakistan Prime Minister's comments last evening on this show, it gives some sadistic delight viewers to listen to them again. Listen in, just listen in, because I'm going to set up the debate around this comment.
9th and 10th